Well, today I'm with the 1% coach, Lane Monson. He's also my coach, and he has taught me a tremendous amount of information on how to improve my business, but most importantly, my life, how to think, how to communicate, most importantly, how to taste the salsa, and we'll get into that
Taste
later.
the salsa. I remember that conversation.
And Lane he's coached some very high-level people. You at one point, I believe you said you were a CEO of a pretty large company.
Yeah, that's where I got my start, was in the corporate world. And so I've been a global head of sales, a chief operating officer, a CEO. So a lot of time in the chair there, being executive and eventually becoming a business owner of myself for the last 9 years. So.
Well, and that's exactly why I hired you in the first place. Was there was a very specific skill set I wanted to learn.
I remember that.
And it was the leadership, how to become a better leader.
Yeah.
I felt like I was lacking in that, in that area.
Yeah, I remember that conversation because I just asked you when you approached me and said, tell me a little bit more about your coaching and what it looks like and how does it all work. And I think I asked you that question. I always try to ask fairly high value questions, but what is it that you really would like to get out of a coaching engagement? And you didn't even hesitate. You just said, I need to become a better leader. I said, perfect, right up our alley.
Well, that's and who better to teach you than someone who is a CEO of a large company running global sales teams and things of that nature. That is a real skill set, and I believe up until when I hired you, I knew there was a skill set, but I had no idea how to develop those skills because no one ever really talks about that. They just say like, hey, you're good at sales, you're the sales leader now.
Yeah.
Right?
Well, that was your path, right?
Yeah.
Wow, you're really good. You're going to go do sales, and then you're going to be the sales leader, and then why don't you help us with marketing? And eventually it's like, I'm going to go do this on my own. And it's like, well, nobody told me about all this other stuff. So.
And no one teaches you, right? You go in there and you go, some of the mistakes I've made early on was you have people that you just go, well, just say this.
Yeah.
Or why don't you just do this? It's very easy.
Yeah.
And what you don't realize is there's a real skill set in what you're doing.
Yeah, that was your genius. You just knew how to do it. So you could tell people, well, just do what I do. And they're going, well, it's really hard. But that's easy for you. Yeah.
And to you, I remember as I was communicating with you, I was like, man, you make it look so easy when it comes to how you would command the room at Prosper 360, how you would command the room in some of the other networking groups that we're part of, and how you have certain phrases and things that you say and do that you're like my favorite one is, that's interesting. You taught me to look at scenarios and not necessarily look at them as this is good or bad, but this is interesting.
Yeah, before you make a judgment and get all wrapped around the axle, let's go, oh, that's interesting. Let's explore that a little bit.
So I would like to ask you a question.
Yeah.
When you say that, give us a little framework of like why you say that and how to best apply that.
Yeah. And we'll probably end up getting a little bit deeper into this area, but there's so many people that use the term mindset now.
Yeah.
And you can ask a dozen people, well, what do you mean by mindset? And you're going to get 12 different answers. Some will overlap a little bit, but a lot of different answers about what that even means. And to me, it really comes down to the ability to lead your own thoughts and to lead your own emotions. And here's what I mean about that. We really can't control them. Our thoughts come into our mind like 50,000 of them a day. Most of them, fortunately, we're not even aware of them, or would drive us crazy. I know. And then there are all the ones that we are aware of. But as those thoughts come in and as we become aware of them, some of them are really helpful for us. There are great inspired ideas. There are thoughts that motivate us, encourage us, all of that. And then there are the other thoughts that we've all had those conversations with ourselves that kind
of... The opposite. We'll call those the opposite
thoughts. The opposite thoughts. Those that don't necessarily support us. And so we have the ability as humans to observe them, to identify them, and even acknowledge them. It's like, oh, wow, that's an interesting thought.
Yeah.
And it could be a really good one or one that's not so good. But if that's an interesting thought, then I can pause and ask myself, is this a thought I want to go with me? I'm the leader, I'm their leader. Am I going to invite this one to come along with me? Or I'm going to say, sorry, but this is where I'm going and you're not helping, and so you can't come along. And then I replace that with a thought that will support me. Same thing with our emotions. And so that's kind of that, that's interesting.
Yep.
There's another story that I know you and I have talked about. Dr. Price Pritchett wrote
I
about
love this story,
in
by
his,
the way.
in his book, U Squared. And it's a story about a fly. And to me, the story is really about vision. And it's also about how we think about our vision. So this fly is in a room and he's observing it. And there's a big window there, and the fly wants to go outside. That's where they all want to go.
Yep.
And so it just keeps bumping up against that window over and over again. And it's not getting through, but it can see its vision very clearly. It knows where it wants to go and why. And so its strategy is twofold. I'm going to keep doing the same thing that I've always done, which is flying forward, and I'm going to try harder. I'm going to double down and I'm going to flap my wings twice as hard, and maybe that will get me through. Unfortunately, there's this invisible barrier that it's never going to get through. And that, when we get to mindset, is one of the things that I talk about a lot. What are the invisible barriers that are preventing us from reaching our vision, even if we're clear on where we're going and why we're going there? And the part of the story that's kind of most comical and also most tragic is if the fly would have just turned around 10 feet across the room, the door's wide open, and it could have just flown right out to its destination. And so it really, that whole "that's interesting" statement goes to mindset, and don't judge something until you have a chance to analyze it and then move forward.
Well, and you would say, I know I've never been the fly.
No, me neither. No, never tried harder and more of the same. No.
But I think it's a very common thing. I talk to business owners every day.
Yeah.
And some people will call me their business therapist.
Yeah.
Because
I'm sure they do.
Although we do marketing and help consult them with how to get more sales and revenue, it's very challenging, to put your money on the line and to put all the effort and your dreams and your goals.
Yeah. And they're looking to you to help them grow that business.
Exactly. And a lot of times what those business owners are being at that moment is the fly.
They are.
They are smashing their heads or their bodies against the wall. And you just say, well, if you just turn around and do that, I think your problem would be solved. And it seems very easy from the outside to look at it, but sometimes, and that's where the value of coaching comes to me, because when you're doing something every day and you've done it your way, and
it may have even worked in the past.
That's even worse. You're even in more of a bad position, I think, is if it worked in the past, because then you're convinced your way is the only way to do it. And when you get a coach can see from the outside, you can do more and better and more efficiently if you just try this instead.
Well, and for me, and I know you know this, but it's less about you should try this instead. It's more about asking the right questions, because I have found, and especially with you, every time we met together, you're super intuitive, super smart. You get it when the light bulb comes on, but sometimes we don't see all the light bulbs.
Yes.
And so for me, my job is primarily just to ask you the right questions. So what's going on? What seems to be the biggest challenge? What's working? What's not working so well? What used to work? And really, where are you headed? What are you trying to get done? And then just ask have you tried this, or have you ever thought about this, or if you're doing this and that, have you thought about doing that in a different sequence? And then it clicks in your mind and you're going, oh, that's it. I could do this,
you're off
and
to
this,
the races.
and you figure it out. I'm just the catalyst and the encourager, because I, with you, have seen time and time and time again that you're just this close from that next breakthrough, and to go, I know it's really hard. I mean, I remember the conversation we had about the buffaloes
Yes.
and the cows, and you
Yes.
were just this close, but the approach that you were taking was just slightly
Yeah.
off. And as soon as you flip that switch in your mind, it's like you went from the cow to the buffalo, and away you went.
I don't know how many times I've shared that story. I recently I told my mom when we were in Los Angeles on a family trip.
Yeah.
I was saying something about like, yeah, you just got to be like the buffalo. You
Got to be the buffalo.
You just got to go towards it. And
Yeah.
she was like, "What?" Just like me.
Yeah.
She was like, "What does that mean?
What are you
I don't
talking
get it."
about?
And I'm
Yeah.
like, "Oh yeah, when a storm comes, instead of running away from it,
Yeah.
they just run towards it."
Yeah.
And that's been. That's been a game changer. Remember, I had AI make a little picture of me running towards.
I still have that graphic that you sent me, and I think it even said "be the buffalo" or something like that. But that's the key, right? Is cows instinctively, when the storm comes, they're going, I know what's coming. I don't want that, and they turn around and try to run away. And so the storm stays with them until it eventually passes. Where the buffalo goes, well, I don't want that storm either.
Yep.
But if I face it and I run toward it, it's going to pass a lot quicker. And we all have,
our storms.
Yeah, and I think it was Rory Vaden was the one that made that story famous, because he grew up in Colorado, and they actually have cows and buffalo there, and he
you see the opposite way. They're going.
What's going on? Yeah. But you did that, right?
Yes.
Remember some of those difficult conversations that you
Yes.
avoided, did not want to have.
Trust me, I did not want to have.
Because they're never fun.
Yeah.
But everything has changed in your business since you said this is going to be a tough conversation, but I'm having it now because it's going to happen.
It's going to happen regardless, right?
Yeah.
You're not going to like outrun it.
No, you're not going to avoid it forever. So yeah. So
I
love that.
One of the things that you brought up that I want you to go a little bit deeper on was the value of questions, right?
Yeah.
And you've got kind of a model that we were discussing before we even press record.
Yeah.
Of basically, what high level answers require high level questions.
Yeah. High value.
High value.
Yeah. If you want to get high value answers, it's time to develop the habit or the skill or the ability. I talk about 4 abilities that are really crucial for success in business that all translate into life outside of business. And one of those is develop that ability to ask high value questions.
And when it comes to, so what's the difference between a high value question and just a regular question? Maybe give us like an example of, let's do it in the business perspective.
Okay.
A business owner, what would be an example of a low value question that maybe many business owners ask?
Well, just simple ones like, how are you? And typically, well, I'm fine. How are you? I'm fine. And then you go on to the next thing, right? But if you're really paying attention, someone might be having a particularly great day, and it's like they're super happy and high energy. You're that way all the time, so it's impossible to tell. But some people, it's like, wow, that something really cool is going on here, or just the opposite. It's like they look a little bit down, or they're pensive. And so, how are you? And then pause and don't let them get away with, oh, I'm fine. How are you? And then the higher value question is, how are you really? Mm-hmm. And then just pause. So there's one example. One of my favorite, two of my favorite high value questions, and I remember my favorite answer I ever got to this question, which is what is your purpose?
Yeah.
And I asked one of my best friends that question, super successful business guy, land developer, and he didn't even hesitate. He said, to alleviate suffering. I thought, whoa, that is a really cool purpose. But when you ask questions like that and people think about it, you're going to get to know them a lot better. Yeah. And it helps you to think and to reflect on it. It's like, well, wow, what's my purpose? Maybe I can go a little deeper. Another one that I just really love is, and I like to finish conversations with this one, and it's not what do you need from me or what can I do for you, which that's kind of lower value questions because it makes it about me. Yeah. But what does Greg need? Or just what do you need? Yep. And then just pause and listen. And my favorite answer I ever got to that one was, and again, didn't even hesitate and just said, I need a nap.
He's just tired.
He was just tired, but it helps people to actually pause. They can't just answer it rote, they actually have to think a little bit. And to me, that's, as we're talking to people, rather than focusing on you and what you want to tell them, and you're a master in the marketing world, you have to ask the questions in order to understand what the answers are or what they need. And so it's just really that, instead of what can I tell you or what can I teach you or what can I get from you, it's more what questions can I ask that will benefit you.
So when you've asked those types of questions, have you ever gotten an answer that really made you have to investigate it more? Like kind of an odd answer or something where you're like, that's interesting. What do you mean by that?
Well, you can always use that's interesting, but almost always when you're asking a higher value question, the person that you ask it of is going to almost be forced to pause and think a little more deeply.
Yeah.
And then when they come back with their response, it's very easy to go, wow, tell me more about that.
Yeah.
Just tell me more about that. Or, ooh, that is interesting.
Yeah.
When you think of that, how does that make you feel?
Yeah.
Or just with you sharing the answer to that question with me, does that put you in a place that you're actually going to change the way that you do something? So anytime people are thinking before they just respond, it's going to be a higher value either for them or for you or both.
And do you feel like business owners, have you found working with different business owners that if they have a purpose, they perform better?
Oh, no question.
And why do you think that is?
Yeah.
In your opinion, what would you say?
Here's what I've boiled it down to with me between the corporate world and my coaching practice, my coaching business. Hundreds of individuals and thousands, if you talk about the groups and teams, that everyone defines success differently, and which is great, and then they basically know if they're successful if they've reached the particular goals or objectives that they have set. But I found that often what's missing with people, even if they're reaching their financial goals, or now they've reached the pinnacle, they're a CEO or they're
at the top, they've arrived.
They own their own business. That's right. But three things that I have found that most people either are missing and would like to have, or they have it and they're much more successful, is more peace of mind and fulfillment in the work they're doing, and more joy or happiness. Some people say, I want to be happier, and others, I just want to experience more joy. And so you look at those three and you go, well, what do those have to do with money and revenues and scaling my company and all of that? And it's like, to me, what good is any of this if you're not experiencing peace of mind and fulfillment in what you do, and either joy or happiness or both?
Do you feel like when business owners, how do they come up with their purpose? So a story of mine, right, is when I was early on learning about business and growing, like I actually believed that purpose was like unnecessary. I thought the purpose is to make more money.
Right. That's so many entrepreneurs. It's like that is the purpose of our company, is we're here to make money.
And I found, and I'm sure some of you guys out there maybe have never found this, but I found that was very like unfulfilling. Like
it's shallow.
I started to reach these, revenues and numbers that I wanted to hit on, and I didn't feel any better. In fact, I felt worse.
Yeah.
Because you're doing all these things and you're obsessing about hitting this goal of success that you don't spend any time working on the deep stuff, or the things that what I have found really matter, right?
Yeah.
The relationships.
Well, it's the to what end.
Yeah.
You and I have talked about the VIP formula because it's so simple to remember, right? If you picture a pyramid, one side of the pyramid is the V that stands for vision, and then the other side is the P that stands for purpose.
Yes.
And then underneath is the I, which stands for identity.
Yes.
And so how do these all fit together in business? And it starts with that vision. Where am I going? And every CEO and business owner better have a pretty good idea. In fact, a CEO's primary job is to establish the vision for the company. Where are we going? And then what am I creating and what do I want? So you start with that, and it could be I want more money, I want a bigger house, I want a boat, I want more time.
I want the Ravens to win the Super Bowl.
I want the Ravens to win the Super Bowl. It would really be nice if they were to do that this year, and you could remove that from your list.
Exactly. I want to check that.
Yeah, that would be really nice. But I know what's going to be on your list, and it's going to be that.
Yep.
And then the purpose is, why am I going there? Why am I creating that? And why do I want that? And that helps give us the motivation or more desire or more passion about doing the work required to bring the vision about. And then there's identity. And I asked 3 questions there, which is, who am I? Mm-hmm. Who am I becoming? Am I improving? Am I coming closer to reaching my full potential and my full genius? And then the third one is, who must I become in order to reach this vision that I've established in the purpose that I know I have? And it's not necessarily easy to answer any of those questions. And it's like you said, sometimes you kind of figure it out on your own, and sometimes working with a coach or a colleague or reading a book, or of course with AI right now, you can kind of
Or you can combine all of them.
You could combine. And I do.
Yeah, same.
I am a coach, and I have a coach, and my coach has a coach, and I use AI very, very regularly. And then the conversations that we have, and networking groups, and go to lunch, and just break bread.
Well, what about? So you coach business owners. Is there a particular reason why? You do corporate executives and business owners. Yeah. Is there a reason why you like that subset? Like you chose
because it's who I am. I grew up in the corporate world, got out of college, went to work for IBM, spent 10 years there, worked my way up as a corporate sales executive, and then I became a sales manager, and I really loved leading people, and then went up to a sales director, left there, went to work for a good friend of mine, ran sales for his company, had my own business for a couple of years, which was really cool, but very, very difficult, and ended up selling that business and going back into the corporate world, and eventually became the executive vice president of sales for a pretty good sized privately held software company. My biggest team ever was 450 salespeople and leaders, and 3 million miles on Delta later, and having gone all over the world.
You probably hate flying now.
Lost all of my hair in the process, but no, I just really always enjoyed the leadership role, and so for me to be able to work with corporate executives now with the insights and the wisdom that come with that number of years is very, back to fulfillment and joy and peace of mind. That work brings me all 3 of those. And then I've had several businesses of my own, currently my land development business and my coaching company. And so I can just bring some unique perspectives that, like you said, someone like yourself, nobody trained me this. I didn't go through the corporate, executive training and have all of that experience. So kind of wing it. And so those are the reasons I just really love that.
So I have a question. I was talking with a friend yesterday.
Yeah.
I'll probably send that friend this video, because the question that I'm going to ask...
It might be so long that he doesn't want to watch it, but we're having fun. So
he was having a hard time he's going through a transitional period, okay?
In his business or in personal life, or both? Okay.
All of it.
Yeah.
And...
that's really unusual. Nobody else watching this has probably ever gone through a transition.
I know, I'll let him know he's the only one that's going through this. So but an interesting question that they brought up was, how do they pick what they should do next? Yeah. As far as, because the career of choice that they were doing before reminds them too much of, I guess, their old life. Okay. And they've got a tremendous amount of skill sets. Yeah. but just doesn't know where to go next. What kind of advice would you give someone like that?
Yeah, the model that I was taught, which I really love, and it's a Japanese word, and I probably am going to butcher the pronunciation, but ikigai, I-K-I-G-A-I, I think is how it's pronounced.
And it's Japanese, you said?
It's Japanese
So
word.
any Japanese viewers out there, please help us out.
Exactly. And it really has to do with what is my purpose and my vision and my direction for my business or for life. And so there are 4 areas or questions that come along with that. One of them is, what do I love to do the most? Which is a really high value question.
Yes.
You know, what I know some of the things you love doing.
Yes.
I know you love spending time with your wife. I know you love being a dad and playing with your kids and coaching baseball and all of that. I know that you love to play golf. I know that you really love baseball. I know you love the Ravens.
Yep.
And so you're able to write down, you know, I love these things, but also what else do you really love to do in the business world?
Yep.
You love to coach people on how to sell. You love to sell. You love to lead people. And so you write down all of those things in this, and you can do it in kind of in 4 quadrants. So this quadrant is, what do I love? The next one is, what am I great at? Not just what am I okay at or what do I know how to do, but what am I really great at? Dr. Gay Hendricks calls it your zone of genius. I call it my lane of genius, of
that's
course.
it.
But what are you really best at doing? And so if he's great with numbers, you write down, I'm really great with numbers. If he's great at problem solving, I'm really great at problem solving. If he's great at you know, a very creative imagination and just can come up with all sorts of new ideas, I'm very creative and I've got an active imagination.
Yep.
And then the 2 bottom quadrants are, what does the world need? What do people need? What do they want? What are they struggling with? What do they not have enough of? What would they like more of? And then the final one is, what are they willing to pay for?
Yeah.
Because it's, one of my friends said, well, it's really great if you can do this and this for people, but if you're not charging anything, you're really more of a church than you are a business. And there's a lot of churches out there.
Yes.
So if you want to be poor, you can go start a church, or if you want to make some money and pay your bills, then find something that people are willing to pay for.
Well,
so that's where I would have him start, and then probably work with a coach or other entrepreneurs, or even join a mastermind. You know, I always have a couple of masterminds that I'm running. I call them my Platinum Inner Circle, and you can join a mastermind, and then you're with 12 other people that are working on those same challenges.
So I already know what he's going to say. He's going to believe that he's not great at anything.
Yeah.
How do you combat kind of that belief system, or how would you help a client dissect that?
It just comes down to high value questions again. And it probably will start with what he loves to do. And when you start writing down what you love to do, then you dig beneath the surface. Well, why do you love that? One of the reasons you love baseball is you were really good at it.
Yeah.
I have an affinity for this. I've got some skills and abilities. The other one I like to ask, and actually Amy Kemp taught me this one, who's a fellow coach that I work with. She likes to ask people, what do you do that seems really simple to you, but other people are always asking, how do you do that?
Yeah.
Or you make that look so easy?
Yep.
That usually gets into that realm of your genius or what you're really great at. So it just gets into that level of questions, and usually something will start to surface.
So basically what you're saying is, do some deep work. Like don't just do the surface of well, I'm great at driving my kids to school.
Right.
Or really think no. There are attributes that you have that people are really drawn to. What are they?
Yeah, well, and that's a perfect example. Ask the question, what have people in the past said, wow, you did a really great job. You're really good at that, or you did a great job on that, and then figure out what that is that they were talking about. And you'll start to narrow in on probably 2 or 3 things.
Well, we had some notes, that we were discussing earlier. I like one exercise that you had me do.
Yeah.
And actually, not just me. Let me take that
Yeah.
back. It wasn't just me. It was the networking group we were part of, Prosper 360,
Yeah.
with the wonderful Mike Burnett.
Yes. The amazing Mike.
The amazing, the
Yeah.
one and only. You had us go through an exercise of, which I do, by the way,
Yeah.
where you're I don't remember what you called it, so refresh my memory, but you sit down,
Yeah.
and it's almost like a meditation
Yeah.
session with yourself.
Yeah.
And you think about, where do you want to go, and what do you call that? And then
Yeah.
walk us through that.
Yeah, so I currently call it, for me, my own practice, and it's just essentially a daily ritual.
Okay.
And I call mine my sacred creation
Okay.
ritual.
Okay.
And it's my time when I really get to think about the where am I going and what am I creating and what do I want. And then I write down inspired ideas that come to my mind of actions that I can take to actually create that vision or what I imagine in my mind in physical reality. And but where I got started was again with Dr. Price Pritchett's work.
Okay.
And in his book, The Quantum Leap Strategy, we all can progress, incrementally
Yeah.
and gradually. But there are times in our lives where we can go from here and make a very big leap. It's like the fly
Yes.
trying to fly through the window. If it just turned around and flew through the door, it skips a lot of frustration.
That's a quantum
That is
leap.
a quantum flight.
Yes, a quantum flight.
for it. And so he goes through the 7 steps of this ritual, but it really starts with first getting quiet. And so close the door, turn off your notifications, put
Turn
your
the
email
phone.
aside,
Turn the phone off.
everything, and having something that you can write on, and you either write the words or you draw a picture of what he calls your aiming point.
Okay.
So what am I after? What do I want? What do I want to create? Where do I want to go? Get really clear on that, even if it's just something for that day. Or it might be a goal for the year or an objective, but get really clear of what that looks like. Napoleon Hill taught a lot about this in Think and Grow Rich, and how many successful people create a vision in their mind. That's why we have our imagination,
Yeah.
so we can create a vision for something that we want to cause to come to pass. And once you do that, you just get very still and you relax, and he calls it tapping into the big mind, which is really our subconscious or our unconscious mind. It's the thoughts that we're not thinking consciously all the time, but they're still there. And so you tap into that bigger mind, and then the ideas and the directions start coming. And there's a spiritual aspect of it as well, and I call that the spiritual mind, or the superconscious.
Yep.
And now you're tapping into God or the universe or universal energy, however you describe it. For me, it's communion with God.
Yep.
And what would you have me know? What would you have me think? Where would you have me go? What would you have me do? And then the inspiration starts to come, and it's only a 12-minute ritual, which is the crazy thing.
Yep.
You can go longer, but in 12 minutes, it's crazy
Very
how
powerful.
often you get one or two. And I think you've been doing it for a while now.
Because when was our last?
That's, I don't know, 4 or 5 months ago, I think.
So about 4 or 5 months.
Yeah.
More religiously doing it, and it's very interesting how effective it is. And I'm gonna get close to the camera here to let you know. You got to listen to the question I'm going to ask Lane, because I think this is important. How do you convince, persuade, sell the business? Because I was one of these. Okay, so the person that thinks this is just all like woo-woo, like mindset and thinking positive, like how do you...
This stuff is crazy.
Yes.
You people are crazy.
How do you... So convince the viewer right now who is looking at this thinking, I don't know if just give me tactics. Like, how do I scale revenue? How do I do this? How do you answer that?
Well, the proof is in the pudding. So you read Think and Grow Rich, and Napoleon Hill interviewed, I think, over 500 of the most successful people in the world, government, education, business, every aspect of life, the most successful people, and almost every single one of them talked about the importance of having quiet time, meditation time, some kind of a ritual, and usually in the morning before the day starts and it gets crazy, to just get quiet. And whether you call it prayer or meditation or just vision time, that you set aside that time when the world is not consuming your entire mind, to let ideas and thoughts come to you, and then to capture those thoughts, and from those thoughts come words and come actions and come behaviors and come habits and positive habits. And then all of the greats also talk about the power of good habits or positive habits. One of my favorite books of all time, this, is The Greatest Salesman in the World. And Og Mandino, who wrote that book, talks agape, yeah. That's a whole nother conversation. Yeah, what does love have to do with any of it? But it's a higher level of awareness. Agape is not a romantic love. The Greeks had 6 different words that they used for love. We have one, love, and maybe charity would be another one. But agape is just a higher level of awareness and accuracy. If I can see people, and I can see actions, and I can see structure and process more clearly and more accurately, I'm going to be able to make more decisions and have a lot greater success. And even in my life, as I have taken time to actually think a little bit and to ponder about where I'm going and what the future could bring, and let those thoughts come into mind and then follow up on them, I'd be happy to talk with anybody about the successes that have come directly from that practice and what they've turned into financially and business-wise, and relationships, etc. Mike Burnett, for example, he started Prosper 360. He was in his morning ritual, probably prayer, knowing Mike, and the thought came to him, I need to have a coach that is a part of Prosper 360. Okay, who would that be? And then my name came to his mind, and right after he finished that session, he called me and he said, hey, I want to take you to lunch. I have this concept that I've been working on in my mind, and I want to talk to you about involving you in that. And because he followed that, basically for 3 years, we worked hand in hand and impacted a lot of business owners' lives. You and I would never have met.
Exactly.
Likely, if Mike Burnett had not followed that impression that he had in one of those sessions. That's one real life example.
I would actually say, so this is what I would say what someone like Lane and a coach and doing these exercises does is the quality, it's how to make better decisions.
Yeah.
That's really what this is all about, because I don't think there's an entrepreneur or business owner.
It's even before that. It's how to become more aware.
Exactly.
Then I know what options or opportunities I have, and then that leads to making better decisions.
See, right, there's a coaching session right there. It's being aware, right?
That's it.
And that's where I think the real value is in these exercises and these coaches and the mastermind is becoming aware.
Yeah.
Because sometimes you're blind and you have no idea what
Most
you don't
of the
know.
time we are. I mean, life is so much illusion that when you really think about it, it blows you away how much I know this is true, and then you dig into it and it's like, well,
is it really true? I don't know. And of course, I've never run into that. Neither.
No, and we don't. But some people,
other people run into that. But I think that's the real value of these exercises and having these rituals. Is it helps with clarity. And then with clarity, you can make better decisions. And
that's it.
As you were telling me about Napoleon Hill, I just was thinking how, could you imagine like what you were saying and how it applied today? He's talking about quieting the world in your mind when there was no cell phones and no
computers, no laptops, no desktops.
Could you imagine what him in this world today, he'd be like, throw all of your devices away, go up into the mountains and stay there for 20 days. until your mind finally clears, and then start thinking about things. Because there's so many things that try to get our attention and distracts us. And that's why I think the exercise is more valuable.
It's more valuable today than ever. Yeah.
And so, what about you? What are your big goals and plans coming up in the next 12, 24, 36 months?
That's a high value question. That really is. I mean, if you ask that question of everyone you work with and your clients and your potential clients, it's incredible what you will learn and how you will be able to serve them at a much higher or a much deeper level. I was going to come back to something that you mentioned earlier, because you talked about tasting the salsa.
Oh yeah.
And you and I both know what that means,
Yes.
but I doubt if the audience knows what that means.
Yes.
And what we uncovered when we were working together is that things would go along and they would work really, really well until they didn't.
Yep.
And it's like, what happened? This was working, and now it's not. And so we had the conversation about, if you have a salsa manufacturing facility, and they've got their formulas or their recipes is probably what they would call it. They got the recipe, and you need this much water and this much salt and this much peppers and tomatoes, onions, whatever, and then you mix it in this way, and then you heat it to a certain temperature and you bottle it this way. It's an amazing salsa.
Yes.
But if something happens, you bring in the new guy because somebody else quit or retired, and they didn't quite get trained right, and instead of putting a half a cup of salt in, they put 2 cups of salt in. It was going really well.
They put sugar in it.
They put sugar, exactly, or double the peppers if you can imagine. And so we just talked about, how often are you going in and actually tasting your own salsa? Talking to a client about their experience, talking to your employee and having them walk you through, how are you doing this and how are you thinking about it. And since you started doing that, it's kind of quality control, right? But we just called it tasting
the salsa.
The salsa. So you asked about my goals. It's really at this stage. I was semi-retired for a while, and then I started coaching and really enjoyed that. And then one of my good friends said that he had feathered his nest in land development, and he said, I think you'd probably be really good at that. I'd be happy to coach you, and I don't need your money, and so why don't you consider doing some of that? And so we started going down that path, and that's been super profitable and super fun. So more land development, definitely. And a lot of the profits from that will end up going into my foundation, my nonprofit, Grandparents for Good. And that'll be a whole nother conversation down the road, but I'm planning on creating that nonprofit in December of this year. And just influencing more people through my masterminds. 12 at the Table is the name of the company, and then I do different versions of the masterminds. Kind of those 3 things are the primary focus, and of course having grandchildren now, they're always part of the focus and hanging out with them. So that's
and of course
kind of it as a high
teaching
level.
them probably golfing so that they could also come with Grandpa.
That's exactly right. We want them to drive the cart well into the future. So
well, I think I really appreciate you coming in today and let me interview.
I appreciate the invite. We always have a great time. So.
This has been a great conversation. I really appreciate all the work that you've done with me.
Thank you.
All the people that you impact on a daily basis. I'm gonna do a quick shout out. I'm gonna send this over to Noah out there in the Southern California area, because he's a guy. Him and I talk a lot about the influence that you've had on us and how much we love working with you. And
another client, a great friend.
Another client,
He's actually a client of yours now because we know each other.
And I consider him a really good friend as well. And he's building something very special down there.
Yes, he is.
In Southern California.
If you're in Southern California and you need your car detailed, Noah's Detailing. In the San Diego area, and soon to be expanding. So.
He's expanding, and we're excited about it. But I just want to say thank you for coming in. I appreciate your service to the entrepreneurial world, the executive world, and
it's fun.
Until next time, we'll talk to you guys later.
All right, onward and upward.
Thanks, brother.
That's fun. All right, I got to go play some golf. All right, give me a hug.